Hey, I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, we're rounding third on our way to the end of the season.
Make sure you don't drop your scouting card, or it's mine. I'm not giving it back. I'm over it. And now let's take a sneak peek at some SRBB headlines.
With its youngest team in history, the USA clinched the 43rd Ryder Cup when 24-year-old Colin Morikawa holed a 3-foot birdie putt on the 17th hole. They finished with a 19-9 rout, the largest margin of victory since the modern format of the Ryder Cup was adopted. Dustin Johnson became the first American since Larry Nelson in 1979 to go 5-0. This is the USA's second Ryder Cup win since 2008.
Actor Willie Garson, best known as Stanford Blatch, his role on the HBO series Sex and the City, has passed away at age 57 from pancreatic cancer. Garson, who recently starred in USA's The White Collar and was also to be in the SATC reboot, also played one of Jimmy Fallon's friends in the baseball movie Fever Pitch. He is survived by his son, Nathan.
Sir Lewis Hamilton, Formula One driver for Mercedes, became the first driver to win 100 races when he won the Russian Grand Prix. He is Formula One's most successful driver. He is chasing his 8th overall championship title this season, which would also break a record.
Joe Lasorda, Tommy's wife of 70 years, has passed on at the Lasorda family home in Fullerton, California. Ever supportive of Tommy, raised the family, helped Tommy change light bulbs, among other things, as he was domestically challenged, so she said, and was strong in community activism. She was asked about Tommy's use of colorful language. She said she never heard any of it, couldn't be paid to. However, she did urge him to have more words in his vocabulary. Joan Miller met Tommy in Greenville, South Carolina, her hometown. He was a member of the minor league team there. They married in April of 1950 and were married until Tommy's passing earlier this year. They are now together in blue heaven. She was 91. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Here we are in the last week of the season. Hard to believe. It still feels like we should be saying, no, it's still early. It's okay. They'll be okay. It's still early. But it's not. How did it get so late, so early? We don't know, but we'll try to make heads or tails of it as we look at the Dodgers and their push. Will they be able to get past the Giants? I know that's the question we keep asking every week. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to have a new walk-up song to finish out the season. And, of course, we'll take a look at the wild card. But first, last week we talked about the MVP. This week we had planned on crunching in on the Cy Young a little bit. But then Kevin Keirmaier happened. And we'll still touch on the Cy Young, but we have to beat the snot out of Kevin Keirmaier. Or not. Depends on your opinion about what happened. So are you with me here about Kevin Keirmaier? What do you thoughts on this? And I guess maybe we should set it all up, but what do you think so far?
Kevin Keirmaier knew exactly what he was doing. He can say that he saw some writing on a card, wasn't sure if it was his, but we all know what happened. And he may be over it. The Blue Jays obviously weren't over it. And now he's happy that the Blue Jays got what they deserve. But where does he fit in to all of that?
So let's see. What was it? It was the 20th of September. So that was a Monday. So Monday from the week before, because we're looking at that week's games. Keirmaier comes around in the 6th inning of a game with the Rays and the Blue Jays. Sliding into home, he and the catcher for the Blue Jays,
Alejandro Kirk,
kind of get in a play at home, get a little tangled up as Kirk goes to tag him, and he's called out. Now he sits there for a minute or two, contemplating what happened. Of course, when you get there and you think you're safe, you might sit there for a second. But to me, if I think I'm safe and he called me out, I'm on my feet yelling at him like a lot of players would be. He sits there and he just stopped. And if you watch the video of it, he sits there for a while, and you notice there's a car slightly ahead of him, and he sits there for a while. And if you just watch it real quick and you don't pay real close attention, he sits there and he thinks about it like, seriously, am I out? And then he picks up the card and he goes to the dugout. But if you slow down and you watch it closely, you can see that he's looked down multiple times and he's figured out, I think, that's the catcher's card that probably got knocked because they wear the wristbands, right?
Yep.
So he knocks it out, and you see it a lot, like quarterbacks do too. You see it more often there, but they flip it up and they'll read their things so they can do the signs, whatever. And sometimes you'll see the pitchers even tell them they'll hold up 4 fingers or 2 or whatever, like go through that set of signs. And so you see him do it, and then he grabs it like, whatever, and he picks it up and he goes off disgustedly that he got called out.
All part of the act.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kevin Keirmaier's not a bad player. Obviously, he's not, or he wouldn't be there. He contributes to his team, but there's things he's said in the past. He's upset because he didn't get considered for the MVP. He's upset because he's not getting the recognition he thinks he should. You know, he plays on a team with, I don't know, what's his name? Randy Arozarena. Now there's Wander Franco. Even Brett Phillips seems to overshadow him, and he's not even a full-time player. So he's got issues. So he picks up the card, takes it back into the dugout, and instead of getting in there and he never just put it in his back pocket. If he thought it was his, which is what he said, right? What did he say? He said something like that. It was like, I don't remember. I don't have it in front of me. Do you have it?
Well, I have what he said the day after, but it does explain. First of all, he says that everyone's making this too complex. This is making it too difficult. This was not a difficult situation. He said, I saw a few words on it, just knowing it wasn't mine. I didn't look at it at all, but he saw a few words on it. He didn't even know what the heck it was on it. And a couple of seconds later, after I realized it wasn't ours, at that point, I'm not going to give it back. I'm not going to walk to the other dugout or find another way. They can think whatever they want over there. They're entitled to an opinion. I'm over it. But the thing is in the video, if this was in a court of law, he perjured himself because he said he didn't look at it, but he thought it was his, which you said and makes perfectly good sense. If you think it's yours, you're going to put it in your pocket.
Right.
You know, you're not going to just hold it. You're going to, oh, yeah, this must be mine. He takes it into the dugout, and then with his back turned with this one of the coaches, he hands it to him. I mean, he's obviously handing it to him because you can see his arm move and you can see the coach, but it's all very like sneaky in how it's done. So he knew it wasn't his. Then the part that gets me is he said, I saw a few words on it, just knowing it wasn't mine. I didn't look at it, and I still haven't looked at it. So how do you know that it's not yours or it's theirs? I mean, obviously you know it's not his, but at this point. But one thing too you mentioned is it was in front of him. If it had come out of his pocket, it would be behind him.
Right.
This was to the side front of him when he slid in because the whole thing is goofy on his part and for his reasoning, how he explains it. But I think what would have been better is if he had seen it and said, oh, this isn't mine. He handed it to the umpire. The umpire could have taken it over there. But he didn't do that. And I just don't understand why you would want, especially after everything with the asterisks, why would you want to put yourself in the same category?
Right.
With
cheaters? The Rays, a couple days later, or actually the next day, I think it was, I was watching MLB and they had, and they were showing the Rays Blue Jays game. And I got there just before, It was late in the game, just before they hit Keirmaier. Reliever came in, threw at him. Kevin Cash was like, "Yeah, we expected this." Keirmaier is like, "What's the big deal? Who cares?" Well, it's not your card, and it's not even about the card, because the Blue Jays announcers, who also were very big about, whatever, what's the big deal? What's this? And then what's his name? Brian Anderson, who does the color for them, was like, at one point he was saying something like, "Yeah, I get it. The Blue Jays feel like, they were wrong, but they need to get over it. And it's not a problem." What they did say through all of this was that the Blue Jays, probably within a minute of knowing that card was gone, swapped out all of the signs anyway and gave everybody a new card. And it was in what they said there that made me think too, well, why didn't Keirmaier just leave the card laying there? He knew it wasn't his. He should have just left it alone, went into the dugout. They would have given him a new set of signs, or a new scouting card when he got in there. "Hey, I can't find my scouting card." "Oh, here's another one. Take better care of this. It's just a piece of paper. So why not just leave it, or get up and check your pocket? Oh, I have mine. Move on." Chances are that one folded. His doesn't fold. Usually they pull out a small little card. Maybe they have two sides. But that one folded. He would have known if it was his or not. He knew when he picked it up that he wanted to gain an extra advantage. It's not doing like the Asterix did to that extent, because that was a whole big process.
Yeah,
That was like
production.
a company's worth. Yes, it was. I'm sure there were people in Hollywood who were thinking, how do we get these guys to help us with some of ours? Because we're not even that good with that.
Yeah, he knew. It's right. You're right. It's not at the same level, obviously, but you're still putting yourself into the position of that category. Now you're the jerk. When I think of Kevin Keirmaier, which I never really did before, now I'm like, oh yeah, that's the guy that stole the card. That's,
That's the guy who's trying to cheat.
Yeah, or trying to cheat.
And then who was the coach who stood over there in conference?
Yeah. One thing that there were a lot of comparisons, and some people said, well, you can't really compare the two things. But a lot of people said, okay, if Kevin Keirmaier was walking down the street and he saw, not that the guy's going to have his wallet in his back pocket when he's playing baseball, but if a wallet was on the ground, or, a $100 bill or $20 bill, whatever, would Kevin Keirmaier pick it up and say, oh, I need to find out who this belongs to? Or is he going to just take it? Well, now I think he would just take it.
Right.
Because
he's over it.
But he's over it because he probably has all these wallets at home and
I think the
different
most
identities.
Telling thing, and probably the biggest insult, and he'd probably say, well, but I don't play that, was you told me, was it Ron Darling said now we know he cheats at golf?
It was Mark DeRosa.
Mark DeRosa. Okay, so
yeah.
But still, those guys, somebody said that, and right there, to people who play golf or sportsmen, and if they even play just a little bit, that's a major insult right there. You cheated golf. So you're writing down the wrong score, or you're kicking your ball back over onto the fairway, or you're doing stuff that there's an honor in that, of accepting when you hit when you take a 12 on a hole because you're not that good of a golfer, or you just have a bad hole. You accept that you had the 12. You move on. You don't write down 4, so you got the par. And now we know Kevin Keirmaier is not only a cheater, he'd be a thief. He'd be cheats at golf. It's a gentleman's game.
And he is no gentleman.
No, he is. What did you send me today? The biggest douchebag in.
Who would you vote the biggest douchebag in the MLB? And a lot of people had Machado, but a lot of people had Keirmaier.
And that's the thing. Machado came up in my head after. The first name in my head was Keirmaier.
Yes, me too.
Then it was Correa.
Uh-huh.
And then it was, and he's making the asterisks look good.
He is. So, I don't know. He just needs to maybe stop talking about it, because every time he opens his mouth, he could have he got hit. He had to have known that was coming. Kevin Cash even said, hey, we knew he was coming. And he went out on the field and said, okay, you got to eject the pitcher. And Joe West happened to be in that, he was there, on the umpiring crew. And so they did, they ejected the pitcher, and he was like, all right. I
think everybody was fine. Charlie Montoya, I know that, they weren't out there arguing. Joe West, and they were just having a conversation. I remember seeing Joe West just kind of, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, all right.
And the pitcher went in and was high-fiving everybody. The only one I noticed that didn't high-five him, and he kept his back as he was coming towards him. He kind of looked over, saw him coming, kind of turned his back to him. George Springer.
Oh, interesting. See, maybe there's connection, conspiracy. I love it.
All right. So his biggest issue, bottom line, and I think we talked about this with the asterisks, and this has become a national issue, I think.
This is an international issue.
Well, what I was going to say is everybody doubles down on everything. He didn't just say, yeah, I picked it up. I saw what I saw what I thought it was, and I thought, let me just give this a try. It's all of that. Yeah, you know what? I know when you're out on the field, you want to see if you can get advantage. Well, number one, you guys don't need it. You're the best team in the American League. So why do you need the advantage? Do you still feel you're not good enough? Well, that's a you problem. Leave the card on the ground.
Well, he must, because he's like, now I want to face Toronto in the postseason.
Yeah, they want to face you too. Next time it's going to be your head.
Well, there were a lot of people who said they let him off easy. The pitcher in this case, Ryan Baraki, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He ended up getting suspended. It was for 3 games, but they reduced it to 2. Charlie Montoya was suspended for 1 game. And here's Kevin Keirmaier. I'm happy. I'm very happy about that. They deserve it. That's all I'll say. I've moved on from that. It is what it is. They have to live with that. Now, I didn't know this.
They have to live with it?
Yes. I didn't know this, but before Tyler Glasnow was shut down for the season and had surgery, in June, he accused the Blue Jays, when they were playing somewhere in Florida, of stealing signs. So this could just be a whole...
Then why not? Why not say something like that? Hey, this is getting back at him because we know they were doing this, or we're sure they were doing this back, when we played them, somewhere in Florida.
Right.
You know what? It's stuff like that. And Keirmaier continuing to talk means to me he's got a guilty conscience.
Yes, he does. He just keeps talking, and it's just stop talking.
So let's push that aside and hope that Kevin Keirmaier rolls an ankle and is out for the rest of the season, so he can't play with his team. And when they get to the playoffs, and we'll talk more about who's in the playoffs, who's clinched coming up and around the league. Right now, let's talk about an equally touchy subject, it seems, postseason awards and the Cy Young. Let's just briefly, because last week we were talking about what should the criteria be. Now, if I open up Baseball Reference and I go to the league leaders, Major League, I see some of the same names on the different things. The only thing I don't see is in home run leaders, I don't see any National League players until you get to about 4th or 5th, because all the other ones are American leaguers that are hitting all the home runs. But if I go and I look at the pitching stats, I start seeing the same names. If I break them into National League and American League, I see some of the same names. Now, the National League, if you only look at the stats, can only go to one person. And I think we would agree with it. And I think last week I even proclaimed it. Max Scherzer leads the National League in almost everything, in the stats you know and the stats you don't know. American League, kind of the same thing. Now, that's the question. Do we go just by what their stats are? Because unlike the MVP, which is open to everybody, so a pitcher can and has won the MVP before. The Cy Young is about the best pitcher. Would that be more about the numbers than, say, the MVP when we talk about all the intangibles and what they do for not only the league or their team, but for, where they sit? Would they be that good on another team? So what if Shohei Ohtani was on the Giants? What if he was on the Rays or the White Sox? One of those teams that have clinched something, that are definitely going to be in the playoffs. Would his contributions to the team still put him as the MVP? Would people who are saying, would the Blue Jays fans who are all saying Vladdy Jr. needs to be the MVP, would they speak differently if Shohei was there too? Would they be saying they need to be co-MVPs? Or would they say, look at what he's doing compared to what you're doing? You guys are both doing a great thing. You're both helping your team. But if Shohei went to any other team, would he help them? Would his contributions to the team still stand out, even with other guys who could be MVP candidates? I think yes. So, but anyway, we were talking about that and how the MVP works. The Cy Young, though, is simply about the best pitcher, not just the most valuable player, but who was the best pitcher. Should it all be stat driven?
No, I don't think it should be stat driven. I think obviously the first thing you're going to look at is ERA. I mean, that is the very first thing that you see, because it is one of the most important statistics in pitching. It tells you how many runs scored on average against a pitcher. Now, American League pitchers' ERAs are usually a little bit higher than the NL because the AL has a designated hitter. But if you have an ERA under 3, you're going to be in the conversation of Cy Young. But another one to look at, of course, is WHIP. That's walks plus hits, innings pitched. And this is really a stat that shows how controlled a pitcher is, how good a pitcher is. So a pitcher who has a WHIP that hovers about around 1 has really good command, and they're going to have a low batting average against them. So when you see that hitters hit on average, say 157 against this particular pitcher, you want to look at that. So those are two things that are, if you look at Baseball Reference, you're going to see those. One of the things too is how many losses has a pitcher had? So a lot of people would say, well, but isn't wins more important? But losses can really tell you a lot, because if a pitcher wins 15 games and loses 12, well, that's not as impressive as somebody who is 15-3. But it just that the pitcher with the less losses factored into more no decisions than just straight out losing a game.
Right. Yeah. The loss number, I've become part of that camp that's not big on the wins and losses, but the loss number, if you come out in the first inning and give up 5 runs and you lose, even if their team loses 5-4 and you pitch 2 innings, you get the L. But if you only pitch 2 innings and your team wins, and let's say your team scored 5 runs in the first inning, never scored again, you still don't get the win because you have to pitch at least 5 innings. So the win, and let's look at this, and we'll get more in depth in it, but Max Scherzer has a couple of no decisions. Now the team's never lost in the games he's pitched, but in the games that he's had a couple of them where he got no decision, they still won. He didn't get the W for it. He got nothing for it.
Right.
So that win loss, he could have, a lot of times we see this. They pitched great. We've talked about this on both the Angels and the Dodgers all season long. The starter pitched great deep into the game, and then the bullpen came in and gave it all up. So they got no decision, even though they should have gotten the win if there was a win, because they kept their team in it so that they could.
Yeah, and I think another one that we need to look at is the impact that the pitcher has on the team. And I would say for Max Scherzer, if you've noticed, especially Austin Barnes, because he's been catching him quite a bit lately, he will usually get at least 1 RBI, or he scores a run. So and people joke and say, well, he's doing that so he can be his personal, catcher. But it's not just Austin Barnes, it's the rest of the guys. Are they, are they getting to the batter's box and be like, yeah, we got to get on the board for this pitcher? And I'm not saying that, I'm using the Dodgers as an example, that they don't do the same for the other guys. But if you look at Scherzer, it doesn't happen every time, but more often than not, those guys will get the Dodgers on the board first, which helps moving forward. And then I think so. The other thing is too, this is a little bit different situation, obviously, because when he got his 3,000th strikeout, he also had a no hitter going.
He had a perfect game going.
Yeah, perfect game. The guys were battling the sun to make those outs, make those catches. And I just think it's important to see how the infield, how your defenders feel when that guy's on the mound. And I know for the Dodgers, they feel good about all of their pitchers. They're excited when Kershaw's on the mound, but especially when Scherzer's on the mound. So he has, obviously he was traded at the deadline, but his team impact already has been, that trade, it wasn't just like, haha, we got him. It was, we needed him, and it shows.
Right. And as far as, the numbers go, the numbers are important as far as, looking at, what kind of impact, because in baseball, that's what the game's about, as far as like how you follow along is the stats, it's just become that numbers game that way. You don't follow stats like that in other sports, not with the same veracity. Yes, he's made this many shots or thrown this many touchdowns. We follow numbers in everything. Everything is a stat. Even in our day-to-day lives, 3 out of 4 times I get the trash cans out on time. So I'm batting 750. Or whatever. I get them out 100% of the time. But I was just
MVP for
Getting the trash cans out.
Getting the trash cans out.
But then I'm competing with all my neighbors because most of them get them out on time too.
Yeah. So how are you special?
I'm not. But we've known that for years now. So with the Cy Young, I do believe Max Scherzer's got a different attitude out there, and it bleeds over into the team. Some pitchers you don't have the same confidence in them. Think about like Joe Kelly when he first got there. They're fine with it. Then he started having issues, and he was they kind of were goofing on him all the time, that he was just like, yeah, he's just kind of a goofy pitcher and, he's not all that good. But he's turned out to be far better than people wanted to give him credit for. Maybe we even realized. I don't hear any comparisons to Rango anymore.
No,
although he
you
still
don't.
does look Rango. I mean,
he still does. He still looks like him, but you don't hear it. Yeah, that's true.
And you can see that the defense plays differently.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell when they're engaged in a game and when they're not.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that can come from how the pitcher's pitching, the attitude of the pitcher. When you have people there confident, like Scherzer, Kershaw, generally. Julio Urias is another one that they feel that way. And so I think that there has to be some of that attitude. I think, though, it's going to come down to the numbers this year more than anything else. And Scherzer and right now probably Robbie Ray are the guys who are going to walk away with those with the Cy Young.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
So I saw an interesting quote the other day. Max Scherzer said that he told Trey Turner they were laughing together when they look at the rest of their new teammates. Says they don't know what it's like to be in second place. And they're right. And this is a team that plays like, aren't we just supposed to win the West?
Yeah.
Isn't that what's in the script?
According to Planet Head, yes.
Yes. And I got to thinking about it. It's like, yeah, that is a problem because they haven't had to fight for things much. I mean, yes, they had game 163 versus the Rockies a couple seasons back, but it's always like right there on the edge of falling off of the cliff. Somebody builds them a quick bridge, pulls them back, and they're saved and they win. They win the day. And it's not because they're not a great team. They are, but they don't have to. It's almost like they choose to struggle sometimes so they know what it's like. So that maybe if we're not doing it, if we're not winning for a little bit, and then we got to really put it on, that'll really, and think about it too. It's like saying you're going to jump off the cliff into the water, but you have a harness on. So that way, if you don't jump just right, it stops you and keeps you from doing it. You have some kind of a safety device. They're already in the playoffs. They have a safety device. They can play the way they're playing. In the years past, I think it was easy for them to play at whatever speed they wanted to play because everybody, even if they were doing well, was playing well above themselves to get there. The Giants are not playing above themselves because the teams that did play above themselves and then and then finally came back to reality and dropped out. The Giants are a lot better team. I don't think they're better than the Dodgers, top to bottom, personnel wise, but the Giants haven't dealt with pitching issues like the Dodgers have. And that's not saying that give the Dodgers a break. It's saying that whatever the Giants are doing is working better than what the Dodgers are doing. So the question is, are they going to catch the Giants? We're into the last week. So there's today sets. I think the Dodgers and the Angels are both finishing up the first 3 of the last 6. And then we go into this weekend with the final 3 games. And the Dodgers are playing Milwaukee. to finish up starting tomorrow. A team that is also in the playoffs. So who's going to do what? How's that going to work? And what's going to happen with the Giants? The Giants are in the playoffs, but the Giants aren't taking their foot off the pedal. They're saying Cobra Kai never die. No mercy, Dodgers.
Right. Sweep the leg. They are winning. And when they don't win, we get real excited and think, well, the Dodgers have to win this game, whatever game they're playing, because the Giants didn't win. And it puts them a little bit closer. But then the next day, the Giants win again and the Dodgers might lose, or they both win. And so there's never, they're just stuck. It's like the Dodgers are just stuck at that. And it really showed going into for this week, they really have to win all of their games. There's no, they got to go on this win streak. But they had two teams this past week that should have been easy. They went into Colorado and played 3 games with Colorado. 2 of those games were Zennings. And you're thinking, really? Zennings against Colorado? But it's kind of been the thing with Colorado, even when they played in LA. The first game, the Dodgers win 5-4. Julio Urias is on the mound. He looks okay. He pitches 6 innings, 7 hits, gives up 7 hits, 4 runs, has 5 strikeouts. But one of the things that people have mentioned is his velocity is down a little bit.
He says he feels good, he says, but clearly something's off because, like you said, he's throwing like 4 or 5 miles an hour slower. Yeah.
And so something's off, and the pitching staff needs to work with that. I'm sure they are. Alex Vesia gets his first save of the season. Albert Pujols comes in the 10th and gets the game-winning single that puts the Dodgers up 5-4. And luckily, Alex Vesia was able to shut down the Rockies. But in this whole series, the Rockies were really competitive with the Dodgers. It made me think the Dodgers really must be the most hated team, not just on Twitter, but maybe in MLB, even with players, because San Francisco came in and played and they just rolled over. They didn't even, there was no, what's going on? But
while the Dodgers were playing the Rockies, the Giants were playing the Padres.
Right.
The Dregs won 1 of the 3.
Yeah.
So in that set, the Dodgers and the Giants had the same series.
Yeah.
Two of the 3 they took.
That's it. Yeah.
The Dodgers needed to sweep the Rockies.
Yep.
On the chance, because they never seemed to be able to win when the Giants win. In this case, they got within a game after each series, because even though they lost in the middle, the Giants lost that game, the last game of their series, Dodgers won. And yeah. I think a lot of it too comes down. I'm noticing that in that game, Julio and Antonio Sensatella, who started for the Rockies, had almost the exact same line.
Yeah.
Julio struck out 5, Sensatella only struck out 3, but they both went the same innings, the same amount of hits, the same amount of runs.
Yep.
The problem is like in this game, the Dodgers, and it took innings, but the Dodgers were able to generate at least 1 extra run. Really, the Dodgers have an issue with only 2 guys, it felt like, for the whole series. CJ Cron and the 211. The weak, when you look at his numbers, weak hitting Sam Hilliard always seems to do well against the Dodgers and the Angels when they played. but you would think he was hitting 400.
Oh yeah. Another thing about this series is there were 2 home runs in this series from the Dodgers. Now they're playing in Coors Field. So they should have more than 2 home runs. In the second game, they lost 10-5. Walker Buehler was on the mound. He only goes 3 2/3 innings. Do you get what we're trying to do here, Walker? And his chances of even really, he's still kind of on the fringe of Cy Young talk, but he's not going to win the Cy Young this year.
He would have been, what do they say in golf, the leader in the clubhouse? He was in a position where nobody, even, like Kevin Gossman, who comes up quite a bit in this conversation, Gossman's passed him.
Yeah. I mean, it was not a good outing. He, like I said, he went 3 2/3 inning. He gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, only had 2 strikeouts, gave up a home run. But in this game, another very uncharacteristic outing was Alex Vesia. He gave up 4 runs, and that's really unusual.
One of those a home run to Sam Hilliard.
Exactly. And Germán Marquez was on the mound. He goes 4 innings, gives up 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, and has 4 strikeouts, and also gives up a home run. So again, somewhat similar lines, give or take a strikeout here or there. But the Rockies were really, energized when the Dodgers were in town. And like I said, the Dodgers ended up losing, and Luke Raley, he hit a 2-run home run. That was the first home run that the Dodgers hit in the series. And it comes from Luke Raley, who got called up because of Cody Bellinger being on the 10-day IL with the rib discomfort and I guess the fracture. So but then CJ Cron, 4 for 5 for the Rockies.
Doubles. Yep. So 10-5. Lucky for them, Luke Raley did that, or they probably would have lost by a lot less. They left 6 on base. They only had 7 hits as a team for the game, and 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position. And then, the pitching just wasn't there. And for the Rockies, the pitching was solid enough, and they got the offense, which is something that the Dodgers just don't seem to be giving a lot of support to their pitchers.
Well, and the other thing, when you bring up Julio Urias, I mentioned the velocity is down. And then the next night, you have Walker Buehler, who only goes 3 2/3 inning. This is not what we want to see before the postseason. However, if they are going to do this and have this little, problem, do it now and then get it worked out before the postseason.
Right. Return to form.
Yeah, because the next game, the last game of the series, Max Scherzer's on the mound.
And you're like, for Scherzer.
Yeah, but it wasn't for Scherzer, because this also goes into innings. Max goes 5 innings, gives up 6 hits, 5 runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts.
And weren't those the first earned runs that he's given up as a Dodger?
Yes. And they end up going into innings once again, but luckily Max Muncy showed off some dad power, got a 2-run home run in the 10th, and that was the game-winning hit. But
you got to thank Corey and Trey.
Yes.
Because Corey was 4 for 5, couple of RBIs. Trey scored a run, drove in a run, was 3 for 4. AJ Pollock had 2 doubles.
And AJ was
Max
back.
was the one that put it together.
Yeah, and AJ Pollock was came back from the IL. He had been on the IL since about September 5th with a hamstring. Was it the 5th or 6th? But anyway, with a hamstring injury. So it's really good to have AJ back in the lineup because he's been really good this season. And the Dodgers pull it out and win 7-5. But I know I was watching the game and the Rockies announced they were going crazy. It was, sure thing. The Dodgers were going to, Rockies going to win. Dodgers are going to lose. They're all going to go home happy. And I'm just, chanting, no walk off for Colorado. I even texted that to you like over and over. Chant it loud.
And if it had been up to the two big guys again, CJ Cron and Sam Hilliard have both had big games. Kyle Freeland pitched pretty well overall, only gave up 3 runs over his 6 innings. I think that there is collusion in the National League West.
I think so too.
Because the Padres fans were celebrating a Padres loss if that means that the Dodgers don't win the West.
Yeah, they were cheering in Petco.
And now that's all they have to cheer for because the Dregs have been officially eliminated from playoff contention.
Right. They are out. And that's why I was saying we talked about the Dodgers being the most hated team and that across the country. And that was, the scientific Twitter poll. But it does seem that there's something going on in the NL West because now we go to Phoenix, another team that definitely the Dodgers should sweep. They go in.
And did just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they did. Friday's game, Tony Gonsolin's on the mound. He gets the win. He goes 5 innings, gives up 3 hits, 2 runs, no walk, 7 strikeouts, does give up a home run. Kenley Jansen gets
Calhoun.
Kenley Jansen gets his 35th save. Dodgers win that game 4-2. AJ Pollock loves playing in Arizona, his old stomping grounds, hit a home run. Max Muncy was 2 for 4. Just, a good game. And you're like, this is what it should be. The Dodgers should be this way. Next night, Kershaw's on the mound. It's Kershaw Day. They should win. What do? They lose a 7-2. Trey Turner has 2 home runs in the game. That's the 2 runs that the Dodgers scored. And later, after the game, the Diamondbacks tweet out, "You're welcome" to the Giants because they beat.
Giants paying off the other teams?
Maybe.
Is that against the rules?
I would think it would be, but yeah. So you're like, okay, what is going on here? And then in the last game of the series, Julio is back on the mound. He goes 5 innings, gives up 5 hits, no runs, has 3 strikeouts, doesn't give up a home run, gives up a walk. It is the Dodgers' 100th win. They win 3-0. And in this game, Corey Seager goes 2 for 4. Trey Turner goes 2 for 4. Corey hit 2 home runs in this game. Trey hits 1, but both of them got their 100th home run of their career. So that's pretty cool.
It was all about the 100s.
Yeah.
They got the 100th win. 2 of them got their 100th career home runs.
And the other, in the outfield, normally, we see him everywhere. Chris Taylor had been on the bench, never on the IL. He had a stiff neck, has been working through that, but he's been back in the lineup and he didn't, he came in and played in the 9th inning, and made 2 amazing catches, that really, could have been, if he hadn't made those, it could have been a totally different game.
It would have been a totally different game because it would have got down into the corners down there and at least a triple, extra bases and bases clearing It could have been big if he doesn't make those catches. I was a little disappointed. I was watching Quick Pitch on MLB that night, and they were showing all of the big catches of the day. They didn't show either one of his, and they were better than most of what they did show. There were some good catches on there, but Chris Taylor's catches were. That's what, when you see Chris Taylor in the game, that's what you've come to expect him to make some of those big plays like that.
And maybe that's a Quick Pitch is like, yeah, it's just Chris Taylor doing his thing.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, it's normal. One thing I did want to mention in this series, Zach Gallen, who not a lot of people know of because he's pitching on a 105 loss team. His record is 3-10, but you would have thought his record was like 30-10, 30-1, the way that he was pitching. And he pitches consistently like that. And the problem is he gets no support because he plays on probably the worst team in baseball. I mean, he went 6 innings, 3 hits and 1 run. That's why the Dodgers were having problems, is because for some reason there's certain pitchers they can't hit, and they always have problems with good pitching. Zach Gallen's one of them.
Yeah.
They have a hard time with Kyle Freeland usually.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I was watching the game. I kept saying when I saw Marquez and then the next day with Freeland, I'm like, those guys would look real good in Angel uniforms.
They would. Yeah. This series, the Dodgers, they won both series. They won 2 games out of the 3 for both, but they should have swept both series. So they could have put themselves in a better position than.
Well, if they sweep both series, because the Giants swept their next series.
The Giants played the Rockies.
And they swept them.
And they swept them and this is the other thing. Okay. I'm watching, or I'm kind of paying attention to some of the game for the Giants and the Rockies. And I'm thinking, okay, a rally. Come on, Rockies. You can rally. I've seen you do this before. CJ Cron, who in that one game was 4 for 5, had 2 doubles, multiple RBIs. He grounds into a double play. What? Maybe the Giants are giving him a bonus for the double play.
It's just crazy how they seem to be rolling over. Of course, that's where you get talk of teams of destiny, because it's like every little thing just right there at the edge. Like we talked about the Dodgers, they get pulled back from the precipice.
Yep.
And they're good to go. So yeah, that's the thing. The Dodgers could have been half game, even tied, because if they had swept both. But because they didn't, the Giants only lost 1 game over the 6, and the Dodgers lost 2 of 6. So the Dodgers continue to set behind. Now the Dodgers head home, and they've been playing San Diego this week. Now that's an issue. The Padres are eliminated, but it doesn't mean they won't be able to beat, because they're like everybody. They get up for the Dodgers. They want to see. There's something I was thinking about the other day. Dad used to say, we'd be out playing pool. Dad used to say, I don't care if I win. I'm just not going to leave you anything. I'm going to make you beat me.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel like that's what's going on with these other teams.
Well, yeah, look at the
you
Rockies.
You have to beat us. We're not going to roll over for you.
Just for the Giants.
We're not rolling over for the Giants necessarily either. It looks like it, but.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because if you look at the series, especially with the Rockies, 2 games into innings, the Rockies were not going to go quietly into the night. And in that 2 of those games, Charlie Blackmon, you really, they call him Chuck Nasty. And a lot of it's like, because he's hitting these home runs. He was thinking. I
I
wondered
thought
if
it was
he.
because of that raggedy look he has
Well,
with
it
the
could
hair
be
and the
too.
beard.
It could be. I don't think that's what you're like. That's a nasty beard, but um, no, he was. I was like, are you on the baseball field or the football field? Because there were some times where he put a shoulder. He put a shoulder into Alex Bestia, and then there was another play he did the same thing. And so, yeah, you're right. These other teams, they get excited to, something changes, and when they play the Dodgers. I will after the Dodgers won and they were getting ready for their travel day to Arizona. They did do their dress up day. It used to be the rookies would dress up, and then they decided, let's everybody dress up. And that's been so much better because you really get to see a lot of different personalities. So, did you have a favorite Dodger costume?
No, there were a few of them that were kind of cool. I think I like the starters with the biker stuff. Although I'm not sure I want to see Julio Urias in a dark alley.
No, he looked like that's kind of like what he wears every day.
That's his street clothes.
Yeah, it's just that's just him.
Scherzer looked pretty intimidating, which is not hard for him to do. Although I do have to admit, we've talked about this before. I don't know which of the job sites it is that does it. If it's like Indeed or one of those that we talked about, Mariano Rivera.
Yeah.
Max Scherzer is doing one now.
Oh, okay.
And he doesn't seem like he's playing the organ at one point. And
I'll have to see that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That was pretty good. He's
in the starters, Walker Buehler, he was more like pledge for the
I'm
biker.
playing. He was more like I'm playing dress up. The other ones looked biker like. There were some of them that was because there wasn't a theme. I know that Kinley was like Captain America.
Well, you had the coaching staff, the pitching, Mark Pryor, Dino Evil. They were from Dodgeball.
And, they all had the Average Joe's uniforms on.
Yeah.
Trey Turner was Goose from Top Gun. And then who was it that was it AJ Pollock, and I don't remember who else that were the astronauts.
Oh, Justin Turner, and then was an astronaut, and then Cody Bellinger was an alien, or was being carried by an alien. So I don't know if he got abducted by an alien because he had one of those like inflatable.
I would have said that. I didn't think he was dressing up.
Oh, which reminds me, Cody Bellinger is from Arizona. He was back home. He went to his hometown barber, and he got a haircut. And I have been saying this for, I think, since last season. Please get a haircut, Cody. And he did. He said he was getting tired of the long hair, and it looks good. So.
I don't care how long his hair is. What I want him to be tired of is not hitting.
Right. But I'm hoping maybe the weight off of his head could help.
I would have hoped that with all that hair, it would have kept his head down and on the ball, but it never did. Doesn't matter what it is. He's always off looking to see, if there's anybody in the stands he knows.
Yep, it never did.
All right, so the Padres are coming into Dodger Stadium, and then they got to take on the Giants. But I don't know which team's going to show up where. Are they going to come to beat the Dodgers and not care about the Giants? Or are they going to try to ruffle things? I think they hate the Dodgers more than they care if the Giants win. They know they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, so, they have nothing to lose. That's for sure.
Right. And then Milwaukee, who's already clinched their division, not just a playoff spot, but they have won the Central. Yeah. Will they be... everybody plays for pride, but they're not going to be playing like the Padres are. They're going to play their regular game, and they're going to keep their pieces. If they're not going to allow anybody to get hurt, and they're going to make sure that they can serve their energy for the playoffs. because they will start off versus probably the Braves. It's the West is going to take on the West in the first round of the playoffs after the wild card.
Yep.
All right. Who's your player of the week this week?
So he seems to be always standing there waiting for this player of the week award. And I just going through everything. I almost went with Corey, but I had to go with Trey Turner. In every single game, he had a hit. Every single game. And then he had 3 home runs over the course of the 2 series. He had 6 RBIs, 458 batting average. And not only that, in Colorado, he treated the fans to another one of his smooth slides.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that was the thing. I kept looking to see who I could go with. And all I saw in every single game was Trey's name.
That's it.
At least 1 for whatever, generally 2 for something. 2 for 4, 2 for 4, 1 for 5, 2 for 4, 2 home runs, back-to-back games with home runs in Arizona.
Yeah, and then one game he was the runs. It was all him.
It was only him. If not for him, they're blanked. He gets nothing. Not in that 7-2 game in Arizona. Where they lost,
right?
Because he hit the 2 home runs and provided that spark. Yeah, I just don't even know what to do with him now. Batting .322, he's up at the top of the National League. I think he's tied for top in MLB for batting average.
Yeah, and he also, you're not hearing his name for him. He doesn't have home runs, but you're not hearing his name for MVP. And I think he could be a dark horse candidate because when you look at the stats overall, he's up there. He leads the league in stolen bases and lots of different things. So
yeah, and he's generating opportunities. Even if the rest of the Dodgers aren't taking advantage of it, he's getting on base and they're just leaving him there. Yeah. Or he's putting himself in a position. He's stealing bases. He's smart base running. And from a defensive standpoint, he plays well most of the time. You still give him a little bit. He's still acclimating to playing second base, but you see him getting better all the time. You see him making smart plays.
Yeah.
Being in the right place at the right time. So there you go. Trey Turner, maybe not only player of the week, maybe he could be the MVP. We finally got the news we knew was coming. Mike Trout done for the season. We knew he was. And Mike Trout, I think, was struggling in his own head about he wants to come back and play. But at some point he realized how does that work for us? This doesn't do anything. If I come back and play 2 games at the end of the season, it doesn't help anything. And and in my head, I'd be like, what if I get injured again? Is it worth it? It's not like we're going to the playoffs. If you were going to the playoffs, you come in and you start getting yourself acclimated, game ready again. So he's done.
With Mike Trout, I think he wanted to have some glimmer of hope, some shred that maybe he would have been able to play. But even then, he was only going to be able to play, a couple of games. And he finally, even though Joe Madden was really like, I don't think, he's not coming back. It had to be Mike Trout, that made the realization, I'm done.
Right.
Even though everybody knew it, that's not news. But
yeah, eventually, but that's how it has to happen. You have to discover it on your own. The rest of us can see it, but we're not living it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Luis Rengifo, we'll talk about a little bit more later, but I think I know why he's been playing so well. And it's probably not just to get a spot or be a front runner for next year's team. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first, the Angels, the Guardian Angels, trying to help the Asterix clinch the American League West. They did their best. They got swept. Although you could see improvement, silver lining, I guess. The first game, they got blanked 10-0. They had 6 total hits in the game. 2 of them were by Kurt Suzuki, so he was a third of their offense. Jaime Barria gave up 10 hits, 2 runs, struck out 5. So not.
It was the bullpen. You had Wantz and Marte, who each gave up 4 runs. That doesn't help. So,
but you could see where it was going when Barria's given up 10 hits.
Yeah,
in 2 innings. You can already see where it's going. And the Asterix can thank Marwin Gonzalez because he was half of their offense. 5 RBIs, had a home run. And then you had Carlos Correa, 4 for 5. Martin Maldonado with a home run. Framber Valdez is a pitcher that every time I see him, I'm like, I don't want to see him.
No.
Because he seems to dominate, especially the Angels, but everybody. He is, and it's quiet. When you think about the Asterix, you think McCullers these days, you think Greinke, you think even Verlander. And those last 2 names, let me stop right there for a second, because you're talking about, and we're going to get more in depth with this about pitching, but they're talking about some good pitchers being out on the free agent market coming up. Those are 2 names that are coming up, and people are saying Angels. We'll talk about them too in a little bit when we get into that, because it's not just a matter of getting pitching. We've always known that. It's about who's pounding the drum now about that. So we continue on in the week. Next game, Asterix throw down another 10.
But the Angels got 5.
Silver lining. See?
That's it.
They're getting better. They had to deal with Jose Urquidy, who pitched pretty well against them. Packy Naughton was 4 innings pitched, gave up 4 hits, 4 runs, and 2 home runs. Oliver Ortega only went a third of an inning, gave up 3 hits, 3 runs, and a home run. And Kyle Tyler, 2.2 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, and a home run. So
it's like they were playing the slot machine, and the numbers came up, and they're like, okay, that's got to be your line.
Yep, that's it. Here's your line. Go out there and get it done. Now, the Angels did have a little, they got those 5. Shohei hit number 45. Phil Gosselin with a home run, and Captain Jack Mayfield also had a home run. Gosselin had 3 of the 5 RBIs. And, I see on Twitter, a lot of people are like, well, if you had a lineup with Gosselin, Mayfield, whatever, I'm like, look at what Phil Gosselin's doing. Sure, he's probably not an everyday starter, but he's somebody you'd probably want on the bench. And Mayfield, too, are turning out to be these guys who can play the positions well, and they can contribute. They've been doing a good job. In the absence of Rendon and Trout. And so we get to the last, we get to game 3, because this was a 4-game set. The Angels did see some improvement defensively, I guess, because they scored 5 runs again. So they at least stayed offensively consistent, but they held the Asterix. They held them down. I know they lost, but they held them to only 9 runs this time.
And wasn't it a innings game?
It was. It took 12 innings to get beat by 4 runs.
But, the Angels got all of their runs in the 5th. They were up, and then Steve Cishak, who really should have been at his Cishak on the sea.
Sure,
yes. On the seashore, comes in and blows the save.
Yes, he did, but really, it wasn't going to go well anyway.
Mhm.
And the problem even wasn't Cishak this time, because they at least held the tie to get to
Yeah,
12 innings.
that's
No,
true.
it was your one-time player of the week, Sam Selman.
One time, that's it. It was a one-time offer, and it's gone
That was the last time that he
forever.
pitched well. Was then he went 2/3 of an inning, gave up 4 hits and 4 runs. So he matched starter Jansen Junk, who had he pitched 4 innings, gave up 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 of those home runs. Selman only went 2/3 of an inning and matched him. So maybe that makes Selman better.
I don't
I don't
know.
know. He can do it. He's faster at getting those same results.
That's it. That's the silver lining. He's faster.
So we had 2 nights of Maldonado hitting home runs. The next night, Jason Castro, former Angels catcher, former Padre, and now Asterisk, hits a home run to help out Yordan Alvarez, who was 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Yuli Gurriel, who's leading the American League in batting average, had 2 RBIs. So they lose that one. They get to the final game, and it's a complete reversal of fortune. It almost wasn't, but they were able to do it. The Angels do salvage one from the Asterisks. They grab the win, 3-2. Captain Jack Mayfield on top of it again, 2 runs, a double. It's 2 for 4. Shohei Ohtani, 3 base on balls.
That's it. Then nobody got the memo. Let Ohtani hit. Everybody wants to see it. Why don't you just let him hit? But nobody will let him hit.
Nope. So nobody was interested in that. So he gets walked 3 times. Alex Cobb went just over 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. So he really had a good outing. And
Yeah,
imagine
another good one.
Imagine if he and Dylan Bundy had both been. Dylan was up to like last year. Cobb pitched as well as he has. They would have had 2 pretty decent, solid starters. They might have. I don't think that they would have. They still would have been in 4th, I think, because of the way the A's and then the Mariners ended up playing. But they would have been a better record and a better shot at things. They would be looking at things differently going forward. Probably the one bright star out of the pitching, besides what Shohei's been able to do, Raisel Iglesias, who at one point in the season, I was ready for him to be DFA'd. But he picked up his 33rd save in this game. And I alluded to this earlier. Martin Maldonado hit home runs on back-to-back days. Jason Castro hit a home run in this game, but back-to-back days. Lance McCullers went out there, gave up 2 hits, 3 runs over the 6 innings he was in there. And that got the Asterisks out of town, blowing out the Angels for the season series. And brought in the surging playoff hopeful Seattle Mariners, who have passed the Oakland A's, who are falling back. The Mariners, who I think I said early on, and I'll eat my words now, couldn't sustain the success they were having. And you know what they did? They did what they needed to do. They downshifted and just figured out who plays where, played solid baseball, kept winning the games they could. They didn't let anything get too far away from them, and figured out how to win games. And that's the key for teams like this. That's what it's going to take for like the Orioles to figure out how to win these games. The Angels have shown that they can win those games. Their problem is they come up short with either their offense falls short because everybody just turns it off, kind of like we've talked about the Dodgers doing, or their bullpen is just that bad and they don't have any starters, that's a problem. So we go in here with the Seattle series. I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler alert, Angels lose the series.
No.
They did win one game.
And it was a big one.
It was huge. First game out, they lost 6-5. So not so bad. It wasn't like the 10-0 loss they took to the Asterix to start off with. Shohei continued his way. And this is why I say maybe he's got a new walk-up song. He walked 4 times. 2 of those were intentional. Max Stassi was another guy who's he's going to be a solid player. I don't know if he'll ever, be a multi-time All-Star. He's probably not going to be an MVP, but he's definitely a solid player. Somebody that will live in Angels lore if he stays with the team any length of time. Home run, 3 RBIs. What I like is that, Max got away and seems to be, wasn't under the influence of the Asterix, because that's where we got him from.
Yeah, he was able to not get that mindset.
That he was not brainwashed.
Yes.
Anyway, Brandon Marsh, 2 for 5 in that game. He's been batting in the leadoff spot for a while now. Jose Suarez, 5 innings pitched, gave up 5 hits, 4 runs, and a home run. So, and really in this game, it was all about Ty France and Mitch Haniger. They together combined for 5 RBIs, Ty France with a home run. Game 2, I almost feel like we should save this one, but we won't.
Talk about game 3 and then talk about the last. Make it a big send-off for...
All right, so we'll do that. Game 3, Shohei's final pitching performance of the year. He pitched well. 7 innings pitched, gave up 5 hits, only 1 run, struck out 10. Couldn't get the win because nobody wanted to provide him any offense. Although his catcher did try to help him out. Kurt Suzuki hit a home run, and that would provide all the offense right there. We can really blame Jose Quijada, who gave up 2 runs. And then Austin Warren, who had overall been pretty good, he gave up 2 runs.
Yeah.
So the bullpen did him in again. Shohei's had some good outings. I think that's enough. He's not going to be a Cy Young guy, but he is the best pitcher on the Angels. And the only pitcher this year to get 150 strikeouts.
That's it.
So they take it. They take it there. Kurt Suzuki basically bookend the losses with decent contributions. But let's talk about Fan Appreciation Night, because this was the final homestand of the season for the Angels. And they, every team does this. The final homestand one day or one night, they'll have the fan appreciation, and they'll give away a lot of extra stuff. Maybe when you come in, they'll give you autographed pictures of a player, or everybody gets a beach towel or whatever. They're going to do something for the appreciations. And then, like I said, a lot of giveaways. On this night, they also gave out the awards for the season for the Angels, and Shohei Ohtani won 2. The first one was the Best Pitcher on the Team award, called the Nick Adenhart Award. If you're Angel fans, Nick Adenhart was a pitcher that was killed in an auto accident the night after, his coming out party. He had an incredible outing, and then he and a couple others were hit by a drunk driver. Nick Adenhart was a local kid from Orange County area and had some friends that he'd gone to school with, grew up with, and, I think only one of the 4 in the car survived. Anyway, so they, as an honor to him, named the Best Pitcher of the Year award, the Nick Adenhart Award, which Shohei picked up this year, and he got the Angels MVP award, which Mike Trout wholeheartedly supported and supports it He should be the MLB.
I think that was when Mike Trout was asked about Shohei Ohtani, and he said, he's the MVP. He's awesome, and he's doing it all. And then he said, Vladdy Jr., he, is doing really well too, but I haven't seen him pitch.
There you go.
I like that. And I will say I had a conversation with Planet Head, and I asked him, as someone who is, I would not even say a casual observer,
Detached.
maybe a detached observer. I asked him, do you think an MVP player, do you think that a criteria, or should it even be in the conversation, should it matter what team that player plays for? So in this case, we talked about it, the Blue Jays, you got one guy on the Blue Jays, another guy on the Angels. We know the Blue Jays are still in, they're in the wild card. The Angels aren't in the postseason. So I asked him, I said, should that matter? Because there's I've heard Alana Rizzo, I've heard Chris Russo, they're all, on Vladdy Guerrero's Jr., but he's on the Blue Jays. That's their whole argument. Planet Head said no, because it's most valuable player. So you could have a guy on a team that, as a team, not doing so great, but that player is a standout. So there you go. Wow. The final word on the MVP.
That is a very clear opinion.
Yes.
I was just thinking about it. Is that I think Planet Head is more of collateral damage to your baseball fandom. He couldn't get away from the bomb blast.
Yeah.
So he walks with a baseball limp now.
That's right.
Now, that's an interesting thing, because as we've been watching, the Red Sox and the Yankees are battling out for the two spots, really, because they were tied until the weekend series. So the Sunday night game was like a tiebreaker, but they were still going to be 1 and 2, just one. They may be flip-flopping, we don't know, but 1 and 2. If the Blue Jays don't make the playoffs, now I know that the Blue Jays have a winning record. The Angels do not. But if they don't make the playoffs, was he all that valuable based on what they're saying?
That's good. Yeah, that is true.
He didn't make the playoffs, so what? He can't be.
Yeah, he shouldn't even be in the conversation.
No, so if Ohtani can't be the most valuable player because he doesn't play on a winning team that made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Take that, Harold Reynolds.
That's it.
Take that, Alana Rizzo.
Take
that, Mad Dog.
But let's get back to the Angels' glory.
Okay, so Angels' glory.
Fan
this
appreciation.
This is more than a silver lining. This is just a whole silver cloud.
That's it.
It's a silver halo. Right on top. Used to be a gold halo, but now they went to silver at some point.
Huh. Interesting.
Anyway, so Shohei wins his awards for the team awards, goes out and hits triples in consecutive at-bats, which scores Brandon Marsh in consecutive at-bats. I didn't see the first one. I saw the second one, and honestly, I thought they were doing a replay. I didn't realize it was live, because the exact same thing happened 2 innings, the first and the third. Shohei drove in Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh was 2 for 4, scored 4 runs. That guy who shouldn't even be on the team, Phil Gosselin, 4 RBIs, was 2 for 3, scored 2 runs. Jared Walsh, not Brandon Walsh. Jared Walsh, 4 for 5 with 4 RBIs. That starting to add up. Have you been doing the math in your head?
I have lost
Yes,
count.
I didn't name all of them, but
No.
14 runs.
Yes.
They beat the Mariners 14-1. The Mariners pitcher, Tyler Anderson, gave up 9 hits, 9 runs, and one of those was a home run in 2 innings. So he's to blame mostly for what happened there. Jaime Barria started this, only went 2 innings himself, gave up 3 hits, and then left the game, which made way for Jonathan Diaz, who saved the bullpen that day. He threw 7 innings in relief, only gave up 3 hits and the 1 run.
That's it.
It was pretty incredible. And, you know, when you see things like that, Jonathan Diaz, and you wonder if he'll stand out because his first name is not spelled like normal Jonathan. It's J-H.
Jonathan,
it's,
you want to say.
Yeah, I don't even, is the J or the H silent?
I don't know.
Anyway, so they did that. He did great job. And you hope that this is a sign of things to come, but it's 1 outing. And he really doesn't have any time to make a case this year. Can he be great, or was that just a one-time good deal that will only come around every once in a while? Not be the norm, just the exception. We're hoping that'll be the case, but who knows? I don't think we're going to get any pitchers. Although Joe Maddon has come out and said, we need 2 top-line pitchers. Mike Trout has come out and said, we got a good team. We're solid. If guys aren't hurt, you know, if we're all together, we got a great team. We just don't have any pitching. Mike Trout said that. Mike Trout's normally kind of will say, I want to go to the playoffs. I think as a team, we want to go. But he goes, I really want to get a chance to play in that. He's not a guy who normally says something that would be termed derogatory towards the team.
Right.
But people will take this that way, that they need. We all know it. It's not, he's not saying anything we don't already know.
Yeah, this is saying out loud, I guess, from inside the organization, where it's always been the fans are saying it, the analysts are saying it. Yeah, Joe Maddon said, his quote was, what's your agenda next year? Is it to participate in the AL West and hopefully possibly make it to the end and play a game in October? My point is, we have to get guys who are ready to win right now in that rotation in order to get to where we want to be. Otherwise, you're going to keep perpetuating this method. He also said that the Angels need to get beyond casting calls. He said, this can't continue to go on. This organization is better than that. We deserve better than that. We have to go out and earn it. And you mentioned Mike Trout and what he said. Ohtani said, I really like the team. I love the fans and the atmosphere of the team. But more than that, I want to win. That's the biggest thing for me. So I'll leave it at that. And when you listen in Twitterverse or, you know, read in Twitterverse or listen to the analysts, that very last sentence, I'll leave it at that, is very telling from Ohtani, who, again, is also not one that's going to come out and say something against the team. And he didn't really say anything against the team. He likes the organization. He likes the players, but he wants to win. So.
To which the Yankees fans all heard, Ohtani's coming to the Yankees in 2023.
Yes,
or
they were
2024.
reading between the lines.
They weren't even reading between the lines. That's exactly how, that's an exact translation from New York Japanese, from what Shohei said to New York Japanese to Yankee language was, I'm coming to the Yankees.
That's it. I I think we saw a lot of casting calls this season for the Angels. Unfortunately, that was the cards they dealt. I mean, I picked them. I thought that they could win the West, but that's with a healthy Mike Trout, a healthy Anthony Rendon. And even with their pitching staff, they have, you had Alex Cobb, Dylan Bundy, you mentioned those guys before. If they had been pitching the way that they can pitch, and in between those other, yeah, there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to be in there. I was listening to MLB Central, their morning show on MLB Network, and Dan O'Dowd, who is a GM, he said, you can go out and you can get, two good arms, like Madden is saying, we need two guys right off the bat, hit the ground running. But essentially it comes down to player development and how important that is. Now, player development, as far as when you look at guys like Brandon Marsh, Angels are doing pretty well, but it's the pitching side that you're wondering. And they had a pitching coach. Did they let their pitching coach go for the season? But I don't think that they ever really replaced that.
Yeah, they did.
Coach.
Matt Wise. Did. Matt Wise, who was the interim for Callaway.
He became, okay.
He
that's
stepped
right.
into the role. I know there's some stuff there, but even those guys, there's so much wrong with the pitching side of things in Angels world that it wasn't even fair to Mickey Callaway to think who's got a track record beyond what got him let go. He's got a track record as a pitching coach that it was going to take some time to unravel that. They can't worry about what's down the line.
Right.
They need to start fixing it. But at the major league level, they've got to get somebody in there. They've got to get those pitchers, and they never can seem to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah.
Garrett Cole looked like he was gift wrapped. I mean, I don't know how close he was, but the Angels, if they really wanted him, they could have pushed that extra money and at least try to outbid the Yankees a little bit. I don't think he was coming there in the first place in the aftermath, but still. And this what brings this up with, they're talking about pitchers that are coming available, that there's some big names, the three big names. Max Scherzer's a free agent. Justin Verlander, who's been out for the Asterix this year, but he's a free agent. And Zach Greinke. Well, let me eliminate Zach Greinke right away, because Zach Greinke was an Angel at one time. And at the end of the season, he couldn't get away from the Angels fast enough. So is he going to come back to pitch for them? I don't know that he wants to be part of that, because the big name pitchers, the pitchers that are coming and are happy to be there, the Patrick Sandovals, Dylan Bundy, Alex Cobb, they're guys who were having no success where they were. So coming here isn't like a step down or a step away. There's something about that that's repelling these top name pitchers. Max Scherzer, the Angels were reportedly in on him, but he wasn't going to go to a team where he was just going to play out the string. He already saw the writing on the wall of that one. Going to the Dodgers, or even if he'd have gone to the Padres, was a better move for him to play on. Verlander, the same thing is going on with Verlander that people talk about all the time. Well, he's married to Kate Upton. I don't know if you still consider her a supermodel, but she's, a model, whatever. And they have a house, LA somewhere. Would he come to the team just because that's become the thing? Oh, well, that's his home. Okay, so this year when Clayton Kershaw, who is also a free agent, is he going to come down and play in Anaheim versus going to his hometown and play for the Rangers? If I'm him, I'll just go play for the Rangers. I'm going to play for a last place team. I might as well be close to home if I'm not going to stay with the Dodgers. I don't see the Dodgers not holding on to him and trying to play him out till he retires. But none of those guys are going to come to the Angels.
Well, and Justin Verlander had Tommy John surgery, so he's going to be the wild card anyway, because you have no idea what he's going to be like, pitching
Right,
wise.
and how long will it take him to go? Now,
yeah.
From the other standpoint, he's a top-line pitcher.
Yeah.
Having him in the dugout, having him in the clubhouse, having him with the pitching staff could help. Not as much as like Max Scherzer would be. At that point, I think that if it came open, I think that regardless of his issues, I'd even go talk to the Dodgers about somehow trying to get Trevor Bauer, because you need somebody who can come in and pitch well, regardless of his outside crap. And I can't think of anybody that's out there coming here.
Yeah, well, and I would hate to see for the Angels, they drafted like 20 pitchers, it seemed like.
However it was, 20 rounds. They didn't draft anything but pitchers this year.
Yeah, and I would hate for that to be the plan. Like, okay, we're drafted these guys, and now we're going to put them in, we'll start them here, and then we'll move them up, and then they'll be in the majors, like the casting call that Madden is talking about. I would hate to see that be the plan.
They were talking about guys who were playing in Arizona who have never played in a pro game that were already elevated to like AA.
Yeah.
That are pitchers.
Right.
Sam Bachman was supposed to make his debut with the Trash Pandas, and because the Trash Pandas got eliminated from the playoffs, they decided not to start him yet. So because there's so much, and it's only in the pitching side of it, there's just so much chaos within this pitching program, in their system, that they're bringing people who and elevating them, and they're not even getting hardly starts. Reed Detmer has proven that he can probably pitch on the big league level someday.
Right.
Look at what happened with Joe Adele last year. He came up, they called him too soon.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted to keep him playing because there was not going to be, it was almost necessity to keep his development. And what we've seen is that he took his lumps, went to AAA, didn't cry about it and go, but I was a big leaguer. He's come back and he's shown better. I still don't think he's all the way there, but he's getting there. Even Brandon Marsh has stuff to work on, but they're rookies. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So they're definitely, and you can't go out this year and do, or in the next draft and do a whole nother full draft of pitchers.
No.
Because then what's going to happen is you're going to have all these pitchers and nobody to call up to play shortstop.
Right, which the Angels need. Which
brings me to Luis Rengifo. Luis Rengifo has been talked about maybe being the he may be the heir apparent. He's come up and just in a few games he's done well. He's got like 6 or 7 home runs in like a couple of weeks. He's really proving to them that he wants to be there. He's shown flashes before, but now it seems like he's really got it. But I think a lot of that motivation is that if they call him up like that, maybe they'll send him over to Arizona to play in some fall league stuff or that, and keep him in the area, because he can't go back to Venezuela because there's an arrest warrant for him for forgery in Venezuela.
Yeah, it has something to do with, I guess, either they're going through a divorce, he and his wife, or they are divorced, and there was some...
Well, he forged divorce papers.
Oh, so I didn't hear that.
I don't know what
part.
their relationship is, but he wanted to sell some land. So he wanted
Right.
some money. It's always about the money.
Always.
He forged divorce paperwork so he wouldn't have to tell her, because she would have to sign as well, because they're married. She has to sign off. I don't know if the property was in both their names or if it's a law thing, I mean, because there's a lot of those things. It's like if you have, the laws here, if you get divorced and there's land, even if I solely own the land, I could be compelled to give up a portion of the sale proceeds or whatever as part of splitting the assets.
Right.
So I don't know what the rules are down there, but the bottom line is that he got his dad involved. It took place back in 2019. The signature of his wife was forged to have Rengifo's father sell joint property to Rengifo's sister.
Oh. I had heard the thing about the property, but I didn't realize that he had forged divorce paperwork. So it just gets better and better. So he never wants to leave. He always wants to play ball somewhere in the U.S.
Well, yeah, he wants to be here. Now, there was a question as to whether or not the Attorney General of Venezuela was going to ask for a red notice be placed through Interpol, which would have allowed Rengifo to be extradited back to Venezuela for this. Now, I'm not saying there's not a crime going on here and that he shouldn't face, whatever, but did anybody die?
Yeah, nobody died.
What did he defraud the whole government? He sold all of what's Venezuela, Caracas? Did he sell Caracas to the Chinese or something like that? And now the Chinese are trying to move in, and
Well, and the other thing is he forged divorce paperwork. Allegedly, we'll say he forged divorce paperwork, and that's not what's being really contested. It's really about the property being sold. So maybe his wife or ex-wife should be thanking him because she doesn't have to deal with him anymore because he just took it into his own hands.
That's right. So anyway, I think that's motivating him right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So we'll see if he ever ends up back to face charges in Venezuela. And then before we look at the player of the week and where we're going to finish out the season, Shohei Ohtani, we talked about all these walks, and even in that 14-1 game, 2 triples, he walked twice. In 4 games, he was walked 13 times, which was a new record. 11 was to tie it with Bryce Harper in a 4-game set, or I think even a 3-game set. And then in 4 games, he broke a complete record. He's got 13 in that, 4 of them intentional. And I believe they started playing Fats Domino, I'm Walking, as his walk-up song.
I'm a walking. Yes, indeed, I'm a talking.
About you and me.
Well, and
walking
did it
to first base 13 times.
And Joe Madden had him at the top of the lineup to kind of help prevent that. And then I guess that didn't really work either. So they
put Brandon Marsh up there. Shohei's been sitting third mostly.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the Angels, because they started at home, are on the road to finish out the season. They go to who knows what at the Grill, Globe Life in Texas, 3 there, and then they head to Seattle to finish up the season. Don't know if they'll be guardian angels for the Mariners. So 3 completely clueless games have happened this week. Or meaningless games have happened this week with the Angels and the Rangers. I thought about it the other day. Who was it? The Orioles and the Tigers or somebody who was playing. I was like, these games mean nothing.
Oh, my best one, I just saw this ad, is Pennant chasing the pennant baseball or pennant chasing baseball, whatever their little tagline is for MLB Network.
Uh-huh.
Catch the Nationals and the Rockies. And I'm like, they're not chasing anything.
Am I missing something?
Yeah.
Am I reading the wrong standings?
Well, and the best part is the whole promo, you see the teams that are really, either that are chasing. You see all those teams in different highlights, and then they say, catch the Nationals and the Rockies. Like, yeah, okay, doesn't work.
All right. Well, here on SRBB, it is Player of the Week chasing time. And guess what? I do have one.
Oh, you have one, and I don't. I'm tired. I just
They're really making us earn
they
it,
really,
right?
yeah. I was like, I could give it to this guy, and I could give it to this guy. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to pull a Jeff and give it to no one.
My POW is nobody. Well, I actually have one, and I did it because you have to find creative ways to do things sometimes,
That's
right?
true. And you have to find the silver lining.
Right. And I don't blame you. I've taken that way out numerous. Actually, I didn't give it to an Angel. That one time I gave it to the
Little Leaguers.
Little Leaguers. Didn't we give one to like a grounds crew one time? Didn't we give one to somebody else one time? So we've done this. This time, though, I looked at everything, and one name popped out to me in both these games, and I kind of already hinted at it earlier. The Angels lost the first game of the week 10-0. They lost the last game 5-1. The common denominator in both those games offensively, and he always does a solid job defensively, is my POW this week. That's Kurt Suzuki. Because in the first game, in the 10-0, he had a third of the offense, 2 hits. They only had 6 total. And then in the last game, Kurt hit a home run. And how many runs did the Angels score in the last game?
1.
That's right. It's the loneliest number, but it got Kurt Suzuki, the player of the week for me. He did play in 4 games, hit 400, had the home run and the 1 RBI. In just one game, in that 14-1 game, I could probably have picked, any of those guys offensively. I probably could have gone with Shohei because overall he had a pretty good week. He illustrated this week why he's a MVP candidate. But Kurt Suzuki is my guy this week for Player of the Week. I think we now know the answer to the song, Will It Go Round in Circles? Will it fly high like a bird up in the sky? Even if it is a song with no melody. We know the answer that, wait, what was the question?
Will it go round in circles?
Yes, it will. As we look at around the league, it is spinning. We're in the last week. We still have teams who have not clinched anything. Milwaukee has clinched the Central. The White Sox have clinched the Central. And the Rays have clinched the East of the AL. Everything else is up for grabs regarding division winners. We do have some other teams that are in the playoffs, but division winners, only 3 have been decided. But that doesn't really matter right now because even the bad guy wins every once in a while. And every week, it feels like somebody from St. Louis is named one of the MLB players of the week.
Yeah, this week it's Harrison Bader. He won the award because He hit .517 with 3 homers, 2 stolen bases, and a 1.548 OPS. The Cardinals closed the weekend, with a sweep of the rival Cubs to extend their winning streak to a franchise record of 16 games. Bader homered in 3 of 4 games at Wrigley Field, helping St. Louis to shrink its magic number for the second NL wildcard spot to 1. He is the 3rd Cardinal to earn Player of the Week this season, and the 2nd in as many weeks, because Tyler O'Neill was Player of the Week last week.
I guess that's how you get to 16 wins in a row, and you come from out of nowhere. I think just a few weeks ago they had like a 2% chance to make the playoffs, and now they're at now they're probably like 99%. But
yeah, well,
so it's that kind of play every week. You've got somebody else that's stepping up, and those other guys aren't necessarily dropping off. No,
they're still out there making plays. But Harrison Bader, NL Player of the Week. The
other guy is doing big things to help a push for the wild card as well, right?
Also, yes, he is there. His team is in the hunt, and this was not against little leaguers. I'm gonna put that out there.
Although it kind of looked like it. If you saw some of the games.
Looked like it. Giancarlo Stanton is the AL Player of the Week. He hit homers 3 times. He also drove in 10 runs, during the Yankees sweep of the Red Sox, making him the 4th player in franchise history to record at least 3 homers and 10 RBIs in a 3-game span against the Red Sox. He joins the royalty of baseball, Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, and Babe Ruth are the other players on that list. Overall, he batted .409 with 13 RBIs and a 1.440 OPS as the Yankees went 6-0, and they moved into the top spot into the AL wild card. And it's funny, he has a batting average of .409 because he cleaned the clocks of the Red Sox.
Cleaned up. I was sitting here waiting to use that line too. Yeah, he did. He's been on it. That's been the one thing that when he's healthy, which has been the issue in the past for him, he really is unstoppable. And then when Judge is healthy, the two of them together, not only are they big trees out there at 6'6" and 6'7", they really are imposing players. They make other players look like little leaguers just by their size and then how they play. So, yeah, that weekend series, crazy. The Yankees sweeping the Sox to move into the top of the wild card spot there, crazy. And then, of course, like I said, with St. Louis, those two teams are starting to make. In the American League, it's still close because the Yankees are 1 up. Boston's right now got the 2nd spot, and then Toronto sits in 3rd, a game back. As far as that race goes, Houston has to do what to do, but they're going to clinch the West. At the weekend they had lost 4 in a row, so the Angels beat them on the last one. Houston playing the A's, and the A's, who, if they'd have done more of that sweeping action earlier, we wouldn't have had to talk about the asterisks in the playoffs.
Nope.
But alas, we do. So Seattle's only a game and a half back there. And if they can maintain, because they're playing the A's this week, then they have the Angels. If they can continue to beat, the Angels are probably going to blanket them in victories as their guardian angels.
They're not going to be avenging angels.
No, they will not be avenging angels. They will be touched by an angel.
So another big series this week, Yankees and the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, as you mentioned, they're setting at one game out. You've got Seattle. They're playing the A's. So lots of great action, despite what you may see on MLB Network. Lots of great action to watch that really is pennant chasing baseball. And I was just looking at, who's won their division or who has, is going to be in the playoffs. And you have, right now, the Giants, the Braves, and the Brewers. The Brewers have won their division. And then you have the Dodgers as a wild card, which is so crazy because they've won 100 games. But then you have the Cardinals who've won 87 games. It seems lopsided. And this is a conversation for another day, but there's been a lot of talk about how is the wild card still needed? Should it be realigned? How can postseason be realigned?
Well, I think that, we saw what Manfred wants to do. He wants to expand it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be something. Well, that'll be something for sure. That is talked about when we get to the CBA discussions. That expanding that. I don't think that the 2020 expansion is what the players didn't seem to be against it. Just not as many teams. I don't want to water it down so much where the regular season doesn't feel like it's anything that. You just play well enough to get in the postseason, and then you figure it out from there.
Yeah, I think when you look at, and in particular, I was looking at the Dodgers, but we have the Giants right now, and are ahead. They're 2 games ahead of the Dodgers, and the Brewers won 94 games or have won 94 games. The Braves are at 83. And they have also have a series. I think the Phillies are playing the Braves this last week. So another big series. So a lot of good baseball. And then just to see what will happen, with the West. The Cardinals are the Braves are 83-72. The Cardinals right now are 87-69. But the Cardinals before the All-Star break were in 4th place and had won 44 games. So it's pretty amazing what they've put together. And maybe, you've used this analogy before. They were running and they were, just taking their time. And now they've made the sprint.
They're making their
end.
push. I was just thinking this when you brought up the Braves. The Braves would be in last, because the Orioles are there, they wouldn't be. But the Braves would be behind 4 teams in the East, the American League East. They would be in 2nd place in the Central, AL Central. They would be in 4th place in the AL West. They would be in 3rd place. They'd be ahead of the Padres in the NL West. And they would be just a game ahead of Cincinnati in 3rd place if they were in the Central. They're like a middle of the pack team. I mean, we know that whole division at one point, the Mets were the only team over 500. I think they were at 500 at one point.
Yeah, that was it.
They were just such a bad, and they're really right now only the Phillies, who are 2.5 games back, are able. And head to head, the Braves are on a winning streak, but head to head, that's where it could be decided whether one of those teams. And if Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, and Segura and those guys all get hot, they could very well take the Braves out at the last minute.
Yeah, and that's the exciting part. This is the kind of baseball that you expect in September, not Nationals versus Colorado, but these games are, there's something on the line. And,
and even
it's exciting.
The Red Sox and the Orioles play.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, will the Orioles step up and show them something? or
Yeah.
will they end up falling to them? And though even playing one of the worst teams is a factor in this because of how tight everything is. I was looking if you took the major league and you put the standings, everybody mixed together, no divisions, the Braves would be in 13th place.
Oh, wow.
It would be the Giants, the Dodgers, the Rays, the Brewers, and then the Asterix. The Yankees, then the White Sox. And the White Sox are a division leader. They would be 7th overall. Then Boston, the Cardinals, and the Blue Jays. And then
Wow.
sitting right outside there's the Mariners, the A's, and then, like I said, the Braves as you go down. So if you did it like they do in the NBA, you have your divisions, the West and the Midwest and that. But when they come to playoff time, the top 8 teams from the Western Conference, not who won the Pacific, who won the Central or whatever. The top 8 teams play in the playoffs from the Western and the Eastern. So if you did it here, the Giants, the Dodgers, the Rays, the Brewers, the Astros, the Yankees, the White Sox, and the Red Sox would be going to the playoffs. If you just said 8 teams from Major League Baseball, period.
Yeah. Oh,
That would
and
be
I've
it.
heard, and I've heard and read where, doing something like that, looking at the best, who has the best record, not, like you said, who won the division. If you win your division, you are obviously going to have a good record, but where do you fall into that?
Well, right. So maybe instead of doing what they've done is where your wild card now is a team with at least 100 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So the Dodgers have 100 wins, Giants at 102 as of the weekend. When they get to playoffs, who knows how many they'll have. Whether either one of them, they're going to have 100 plus wins.
Right.
Shouldn't you reseed? So yes, they're the Wild. They come in, they get the second spot, and then another team gets second spot, and or the first extra, the second extra, and then reseed them so that you do look at Giants, Dodgers, Brewers. So it'd be Giants, Dodgers, Brewers, Cardinals, and then the Braves. And those and then the Braves and the Cardinals would play for the wild card. And then then you would have the Dodgers and the Brewers, or the Giants and the Brewers. And then the other team would play, and they would play, the Dodgers or the Giants would play the winner of the Braves Cardinals game.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to look into, just to see how they would, because there's the whole thing with the wild card, especially in the West, is the 2 teams that, as of right now, it's the Dodgers, but it could be the Giants, and they have the 2 best records in Major League Baseball, and one of them could be the wild card, and that just doesn't seem right. But
right, that's why I say you reseed at the thing. Here's how it ended. The Braves are in because they won their division. The division winners all get in, and then the next 2 who won the wild card things, and then reset.
Yeah.
The Braves may have won their division, but they wouldn't have won any other division.
Right. Yeah.
The Dodgers and the Giants would have won every division if they were moved to them.
Yeah. We know that there will be a new CBA. All of these things will be discussed within.
We don't know that they'll be worked out, but they will be discussed.
Yes, they will be discussed. Which brings me to the postseason schedule. Major League Baseball did announce the schedule. It will open with the American League wild card game on October 5th. And then the National League wild card game will be the next day. Game 1 of the World Series is scheduled for October 26th. So just to give you an idea of how full October baseball. It's always fun. It's postseason. You have those guys like Reggie Jackson, who has eternally become Mr. October because of his performance.
And SRBB follower, by the way.
Yes.
On Twitter.
So, so it's really going to be a lot of fun. I know my family is already like, the Dodgers, they know that they're going to be in the postseason, but they know I get a little crazy. Sometimes I get very, I'm like this anyway, but I don't like to jinx things. I got to have certain things in certain ways. If the Dodgers win, shirts I wear, things like that. It all becomes October, so it's kind of my crazy month. I guess like retailers, they have their crazy month, but October has been my crazy month. This
is your version of Black Friday?
That's right, for the whole month. For the whole month. So we'll see, but it'll be exciting nevertheless.
A couple of extensions in the managing ranks. David Bell of Cincinnati Reds gets an extension. I think well-deserved. The Reds have played pretty well overall, especially with some of the injury issues they've had. Because you think about it, Jesse Winker's been out, came back, went back out again.
Yeah, he's
Nick
still
Castellanos has had a little bit. And those two guys were leading the league in everything to start the season.
Yeah.
Joey Votto, as we know, thanks to a little sad girl, has turned his season around because of her, he's starting to play like the younger guys.
It's almost like he sometimes comes off to me being like this, but you know how the Grinch had a heart that was 2 sizes too small, and then the little girl made him. That's
Mr. Votto.
And now his heart has grown, and he's playing a lot better baseball because of it. David Bell, I think he has a 2-year extension. I think that is well-deserved. The other one, and I don't know that we really need to be too surprised because I don't know who would come in and take over for this team. And also this team, if you want to talk about a rebuild and also injuries, but kind of cut to the bone, is the Diamondbacks, and Torey Labello was extended a year. So I'm not sure what that means. How, can you win?
Is that a vote of confidence?
51 games or 60 games I don't know that it's really a vote of confidence, or we just don't know who would come in and manage.
And I think that's probably the bigger thing. Who wants that job?
Right.
And it's not a vote of confidence necessarily, but it is, let's see what happens next season. Do you get better? It's not like they don't have some decent players. I think they could be a middle of the pack team.
Yeah.
Of course, in the West, they may still end up being at the bottom, but they don't have to be 105 losses or more.
Right. It doesn't have to be as severe
a disaster.
Yeah, that's just, especially when, and this is a lot of times in Phoenix when the Dodgers play, Dodger fans are everywhere and they do travel to see the team play. But Chase Field is, when you look out into the stands, it's mostly Dodger blue. You're not.
And Brandon Crawford's kids.
And Brandon Crawford's kids that Madison Bumgarner bought tickets so that they could root against the Dodgers.
It really is a conspiracy.
I think so, because even Madison Bumgarner, who doesn't play for the Giants, but obviously is beloved by the Giant faithful, is getting in on the act.
All right. Well, like we said, with the Diamondbacks, quite a few teams, we've talked about it with the Angels. Those teams have definitely been on a high-speed ride. It's like that carnival ride. You know, where you get in and you stand there and it's like a gravity ride and it pushes you back up against the wall and you're stuck on there as it's spinning. For some teams, that would be the wheel of IL.
Not a lot going on the Wheel of IL, but there are some notables. We have Archie Bradley from the Phillies with a strained oblique. Devin Williams.
Oblique. Oh, my side. Oh, my side.
Devin Williams from the Brewers. He has a strained cap. No timetable for his return at this moment, so not sure what will happen there. Wade Miley of the Reds has a strained neck, so he is on the 10-day IL. And then we look at the San Francisco Giants. Darren Ruff, strained oblique.
Oblique, life on my side. Oh, my side.
And Brandon Belt has a fractured thumb. He was hit by a pitch in Colorado, and he has a fractured thumb, and we will see where that goes. Not sure, because you had Brandon Belt, and he's been out. He was out during the season, didn't seem to stop the Giants. But Darren Ruff usually is in helping the cause, and he's also on the IL. So I don't know if it's much to do about nothing or, what it's going to be.
I think that they played their backups are playing so well that you're right. I don't think it's going to be noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, because you've got guys in there like Wade Lamont Jr., who, when he plays...
Like who?
He is playing really well. So, yeah, when I heard it, I was like, oh, he fractured his thumb. That's got to hurt. But did it just hurt Brandon Belt? He's the captain.
I think that's my insurance salesman, Wade Lamont Jr.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask my accountant, Phil Bickford.
But I do want to leave the Wheel of IL on a happy note. This guy was on the Wheel of IL, and we really thought he was going to be on the wheel until the end of the season. We weren't going to see him back, but that is Chris Bassett of the Oakland A's. For the first time since August 17th, he took the mound on the 24th of September to start a baseball game. He was undeterred by a potentially career-ending incident in which a 100-mile-per-hour line drive fractured his right cheek, but he defied the odds. He got through those mental hurdles, which I think anybody would have. And he had a 6-week...
You would think that he was going to be like Ricky Bobby. Get out of the car, think he's on fire,
right?
Running around, get back out on the mound, and the first ball, little dribbler off of a bat like a bunt, and he's freaking out because the ball came at him.
Right? Yeah, but he wasn't like that at all. He had a 6-week projected recovery timeline, and he returned just like he was before surgery. He pitched just the 3 innings. I'm sure that was part of the plan, but it's really nice to see Chris Bassett, especially after that was really scary, for all involved. Right. And, so good on Chris Bassett for getting back out there on the mound and, playing baseball.
Hopping back on that horse.
That's it.
And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB.
We're also on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Email us, show at siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on SRBB, fall is here, the regular season is over, and the postseason is upon us.
Time to get cozy, dip yourself in some pumpkin spice, and watch the playoffs.